Welcome to Black History for Sleep. Tonight, we gently step into a world that's often forgotten, but never erased. You are a young child in 1920s America, a part of a black family navigating a landscape both vibrant with hope and shadowed by hardship. As the air thickens with memory, as the world outside goes quiet, I invite you to close your eyes, breathe deeply, and if this kind of deep, immersive storytelling moves you, please subscribe to Black History for Sleep. We bring the past to your pillow, one quiet, powerful story at a time. Now, let us begin tonight's journey into why life was brutal for black families in 1920s America. You are small, perhaps no older than 5 or 6, and the year is 1923. The world outside your window hums with a strange mix of distant promise and ever-present unease. You live in a small rented house, perhaps in a quiet, unpaved street on the edge of a bustling southern town, or maybe in the crowded, brick-lined alleys of a northern city where the promise of a new life had beckoned your parents. The air itself feels different depending on where you are. In the south, it's thick with humidity, carrying the scent of pine needles and damp earth after a summer rain, or the acrid tang of wood smoke from a distant cooking fire. In the north, it might carry the metallic scent of industry, the faint whisper of soot, and the ceaseless murmur of city life. You awaken before the sun, not by an alarm, but by the subtle shifts in the house around you. The floorboards above creak softly as your mother or father begins their day. You hear the gentle clink of a stovepipe being adjusted, the low murmur of voices, careful not to disturb the sleeping children too much. Your small cot, perhaps shared with a sibling, feels soft beneath your thin blanket, a comforting cocoon against the cool morning air. The room is dim, lit only by the faint glow filtering through a crack in the curtains, or perhaps from the small flickering flame of a kerosene lamp in the next room. The sounds of morning are a symphony of quiet determination. The gentle scrape of a metal pot on a stovetop, the soft sigh of your mother as she stretches, the rustle of fabric as she dresses. You hear the rhythmic splash of water from a wash basin, a ritual of cleanliness performed even when water must be carried in from an outdoor pump or a shared hallway faucet. The smells begin to weave their way into your consciousness. The rich, earthy scent of coffee brewing, the faint sweetness of cornmeal, or the comforting aroma of frying bacon if it's a fortunate morning. These are the smells of survival, of a family striving to make a new day begin. You finally push the thin blanket aside, your bare feet meeting the cool, smooth wood of the floor. You pad softly into the kitchen, a space that serves as the heart of your small world. Here the lamp casts long, dancing shadows, making familiar objects seem larger, more imposing in the half-light. Your mother is already there, her back to you, perhaps stirring a pot of grits or kneading dough for biscuits. She turns, her smile a gentle crescent in the dimness, and the weariness in her eyes is something you sense rather than fully understand. It's a shadow that rarely leaves the faces of the adults around you. Breakfast is a quiet affair, a time for nourishment and preparation. You sit on a small wooden stool, perhaps at a rickety table covered with a worn oilcloth. The food is simple but hearty: grits or oatmeal, maybe a piece of fried salt pork, and strong, sweet coffee for the adults, watered down with milk for the children. You eat slowly, savoring each bite, knowing that this fuel must last. Your parents speak in hushed tones, their words often about the day's work ahead, the struggle to make ends meet, the subtle indignities they anticipate facing. These are not conversations meant for your young ears, but the cadence of their voices, the way their brows furrow, tells you that life outside these four walls is complex and often difficult. After breakfast, the house begins to hum with purpose. Your parents must prepare for their day. Your father, if he is fortunate enough to have work, might be a laborer, a factory worker, a sharecropper, or perhaps a Pullman porter if you are in a city. He might be leaving for a job that pays him less than his white counterparts for the same hard labor, a truth you intuitively grasp even as a child. He might put on his worn work clothes, careful to mend any tears, his movements deliberate, conserving energy. Your mother, too, prepares. She might be going to work as a domestic, cleaning houses for white families, washing and ironing their clothes, cooking their meals. Or she might be taking in laundry at home, her hands calloused from hot water and strong lye soap. You observe these preparations, a quiet witness to their resilience. You might help in small ways, fetching a shoe brush, bringing a cup of water, or simply staying out of the way. The scent of lye soap, or the faint, clean smell of freshly ironed cloth, might become entwined with your memories of your mother's industry. Your father's calloused hands, the lines etched deep from manual labor, tell a silent story of perseverance. You see the pride in their posture, even as they face a world that often seeks to diminish them. As they prepare to leave, there is a ritual of farewell, a quick hug, a gentle pat on the head, a whispered instruction to be good, to look after your younger siblings if you have them. Your parents step out into the morning light, leaving you and your siblings in the care of an older relative, a neighbor, or perhaps the eldest child if they are old enough. The silence that follows their departure is vast, filled only with the distant sounds of the street and the quiet presence of your remaining family. Your day as a young child is structured by the rhythms of the household and the community. If you are old enough, you might attend a segregated school, a place of learning that often lacks the resources of white schools, but where the teachers, often black women of profound dedication, pour their souls into educating you. The schoolhouse might be a single room crowded with children of all ages, the textbooks worn and outdated. But within its walls there is a sense of purpose, a shared understanding that education is a pathway, however narrow, to a better future. You learn to read from these old books, your finger tracing the words, imagining worlds beyond your immediate experience. You learn arithmetic, reciting times tables in a chorus with your classmates. You learn history, though it is often a history that omits or distorts the narratives of your own people. Yet your teachers find ways to weave in stories of strength, of achievement, of resilience, reminding you of the rich heritage that flows through your veins. If you are too young for school, or if there is no school accessible, your day is spent at home, learning the quiet lessons of daily life. You might watch your grandmother or an older aunt as she performs household chores, her movements economical and precise. You learn to sweep with a broom made of natural fibers, the dust motes dancing in the shafts of sunlight. You learn to fetch water, carefully balancing the heavy pail. You learn to tend to a small garden, if you have one, planting seeds, pulling weeds, understanding the intimate connection between effort and sustenance. These are not mere chores. They are lessons in self-sufficiency, in community, in the quiet dignity of labor. Playtime is precious and often improvisational. You play with whatever is available. A stick becomes a sword, a discarded tin can becomes a drum, a patch of dirt becomes a miniature village for pebbles and fallen leaves. Imagination is your richest toy. You might play games of tag in the dusty street, your laughter echoing in the morning air. You might gather with other children from the neighborhood, inventing elaborate stories, sharing secrets, forging bonds that will last a lifetime. The games are simple, but the joy is profound, a momentary escape from the weight of the adult world. Lunch is often a simple meal, perhaps leftovers from breakfast, or a humble concoction of beans and rice. It is eaten quickly, fuel for the afternoon. The afternoon brings a sense of quiet waiting. You might sit on a porch swing if you have one, watching the slow pace of life on your street. An old man might pass by, nodding a greeting. A neighbor might call out a word of encouragement to your guardian. The sun climbs high, then begins its slow descent, painting the sky with hues of orange and purple. As the day wears on, a sense of anticipation begins to build. You wait for the familiar footsteps, the distinctive sound of your parents returning home. When they finally appear, their faces are tired, but there is also a softening in their eyes when they see you. Their bags might hold a few precious groceries, a small treat, or simply the tools of their trade. You rush to greet them, eager to share the small events of your day, eager for the comfort of their presence. Evenings are for coming together. The kitchen, once again, becomes the heart of the home. The smells of dinner cooking fill the air, perhaps a stew simmering slowly, or the rich aroma of collard greens and cornbread. These are not always lavish meals, but they are prepared with care and love, designed to nourish both body and spirit. As you sit down to eat, the conversation flows more freely. Your parents might talk about their day, the challenges they faced, the small victories they achieved. You listen, absorbing the rhythms of their lives, understanding the hidden meanings behind their words. After dinner, if there's a little light left, you might gather on the porch or in the living room. Your father might tell stories, perhaps tales from his childhood, or folk tales passed down through generations. Your mother might hum spirituals, her voice a soothing balm. These stories and songs are more than entertainment. They are a vital part of your heritage, connecting you to a past that stretches back further than you can imagine. A history of struggle and triumph, of enduring faith and unbreakable spirit. You learn about ancestors you never met, about lands far away, about the long journey that brought your family to this moment. Bedtime approaches gently. You help with small chores, clearing the table, tidying up the room. Your parents prepare you for sleep, perhaps washing your face and hands, helping you into your night clothes. You might hear a quiet prayer, a whispered blessing for safety and protection. As you climb back into your cot, the sounds of the night begin to fill the air, the chirping of crickets, the distant howl of a dog, the gentle rustle of leaves outside the window. Your parents' voices, now softer, are the last sounds you hear as you drift off to sleep, feeling safe and loved within the walls of your humble home. But beneath this quiet rhythm of daily life, a harsher reality constantly pressed in on black families in 1920s America. The decade, often called the Roaring Twenties for white America, was a period of intense struggle and pervasive injustice for black communities. This brutality manifested in countless ways, subtle and overt, economic and social, psychological and physical. Consider the pervasive system of Jim Crow laws that governed every aspect of life in the southern states and whose influence stretched tentacles into the North as well. You are constantly aware of the lines you cannot cross, the places you cannot go, the rules that apply only to you and your family. Signs are everywhere, silent yet screaming directives, whites only, colored. These words are etched not just on physical signs, but into the very fabric of society, shaping your movements, your aspirations, your very sense of self. You cannot drink from the same water fountain as white children. You cannot sit in the same section of the bus or train. If your family travels, you know that finding a place to eat or sleep can be a perilous journey. There are colored waiting rooms at train stations, separate entrances for colored customers at stores, and entire sections of towns where your presence is tolerated only if you are in service to white families. This constant, visible segregation is a daily reminder of your second-class status, a heavy weight that settles in your small chest. Your parents explain these rules to you gently but firmly. They tell you, stay in your place. These are not words of weakness, but words of survival. They are teaching you to navigate a treacherous landscape, to avoid drawing attention, to keep safe. You learn to walk with your head down sometimes, not out of shame, but out of a need for self-preservation. You learn to suppress your anger, to bite back the questions that bubble up inside you. Why? Why are we different? Why are we not allowed? The impact of Jim Crow extends far beyond public spaces. It dictates where your family can live. Housing discrimination is rampant. In the South, black families are often relegated to specific underserved neighborhoods or to rural areas with poor infrastructure. In northern cities, where the Great Migration brought hundreds of thousands of black people seeking a better life, they face restrictive covenants and redlining. You might live in a crowded tenement, a dilapidated building in a neglected part of the city, where landlords charge exorbitant rents for substandard living conditions. The streets are unpaved, the sanitation poor, the air thick with the smells of many families crowded together. You see the stark contrast between your neighborhood and the white neighborhoods. Their streets are paved, their houses larger, their lawns green and manicured. Your neighborhood, by contrast, feels forgotten, neglected by the city services. The garbage collection is less frequent, the street lights fewer, the police presence often more a source of fear than protection. This visual disparity, even at your young age, teaches you about the systemic inequalities that define your world. Then there is the constant grinding weight of economic oppression. The 1920s saw a booming national economy, but for black families, this prosperity was largely out of reach. In the South, many black families remained trapped in the cycle of sharecropping, a system that was barely distinguishable from slavery. Your parents might work tirelessly from sunup to sundown in fields that do not belong to them, growing crops they will never truly own. They are forever indebted to the white landowner, caught in a spiral of debt that is almost impossible to escape. The promised share of the crop often vanishes through inflated prices at the company store, fraudulent accounting, and a rigged system that ensures they remain perpetually bound to the land. You see your parents' hands, rough and cracked from the labor. You see the lines of exhaustion around their eyes. You hear their hushed conversations about how little they have to show for their tireless efforts, how the debt seems to grow rather than shrink. Even as a child, you might participate in this labor, your small hands picking cotton or tobacco, your back aching under the sun. This early immersion in labor strips away some of the innocence of childhood, replacing it with a grim understanding of economic survival. For those who migrated north, hoping for industrial jobs, the reality was often different, but no less challenging. They faced intense competition for the lowest-paying jobs, often barred from union membership and better opportunities. They worked in the most dangerous, dirtiest factory jobs, paid less than white workers for the same tasks. Your father might come home from the steel mills or the slaughterhouses, his clothes grimy, his body aching, the fumes of his workplace clinging to him. Your mother might return from cleaning white homes, her back sore, her spirit weary from smiling through indignities. The dream of accumulating wealth, of owning a home, of providing more for their children, was a distant, often unattainable goal. Every dollar earned was stretched thin, covering rent, food, and the ever-present need to save for emergencies. There was little room for leisure, for luxuries, for the carefree moments that defined the roaring 20s for others. Your childhood might be marked by a constant awareness of scarcity, a learned habit of frugality, of valuing every scrap, every dime. Beyond the economic and social strictures, there was the ever-present shadow of violence and terror. The 1920s was a peak period for the Ku Klux Klan, whose membership surged across the nation, not just in the South. You might hear stories, whispered in low tones, of Klan rallies, of hooded figures parading through towns, burning crosses as a chilling symbol of their hatred. These stories are designed to instill fear, to maintain the racial hierarchy through intimidation. The threat of lynching hung over every black community like a dark cloud. This horrific practice, the public murder of black individuals by white mobs, was used as a tool of racial control to punish perceived transgressions, to suppress black economic advancement, or simply to terrorize. Though you are too young to fully grasp its depravity, you sense the palpable fear it instills in the adults around you. You hear the hushed conversations, the warnings to be careful, to not look a white person in the eye. This fear, subtle and pervasive, shapes the way your parents move through the world, the advice they give you, the constant vigilance they maintain. You might hear the distant wail of sirens, or see a group of white men gather in the town square, their faces grim, their intentions unclear. Even if you do not witness such an atrocity directly, the knowledge of its possibility, the collective memory of past lynchings, is woven into the fabric of your community's consciousness. It is a stark reminder of the fragility of black life, the constant threat of arbitrary violence. Beyond the Klan, everyday racial violence was a pervasive reality. White individuals felt emboldened to act with impunity, knowing they would face little to no consequence. A slight perceived insult, an accidental brush in the street, an assertion of dignity, any of these could spark a violent reprisal. Your parents teach you to walk a delicate line, to be polite, to be deferential, even when it chafes against your nascent sense of self-worth. This constant suppression of emotion, this forced humility, is a heavy burden even for a child. The legal system offered little protection. Black individuals faced systemic injustice in the courts. If arrested, they were often denied due process, subjected to unfair trials, and handed down harsher sentences than white defendants for the same crimes. Juries were almost exclusively white, and justice for black people was a rare and elusive commodity. You might hear stories of colored men unjustly accused, locked away for crimes they did not commit, their lives irrevocably altered by a prejudiced system. This lack of legal recourse meant that even if violence occurred, there was little hope for redress, deepening the sense of powerlessness. Yet despite this brutal reality, black families in the 1920s did not simply endure. They resisted and found resilience in myriad ways. This resistance was not always overt and dramatic. Often, it was quiet, powerful, and deeply embedded in the fabric of daily life. One of the most profound forms of resistance was the act of community building. Within your segregated neighborhood, a vibrant world thrived. Churches were not just places of worship. They were the bedrock of the community, serving as social centers, educational hubs, and organizing spaces. You might spend your Sundays in the church, listening to the passionate sermons of the preacher, singing hymns that spoke of hope and deliverance. The church was a sanctuary, a place where you could be fully yourself, surrounded by others who understood your struggles and celebrated your joys. It was a place where leadership developed, where strategies for survival were discussed, and where mutual aid was organized. Black-owned businesses, though small and often struggling, provided vital services and a sense of self-sufficiency. The barbershop, the beauty salon, the small grocery store, these were not just commercial establishments. They were community gathering places where news was exchanged, gossip was shared, and a sense of shared identity was reinforced. You might run errands for your mother to the corner store, watching the interactions, sensing the quiet pride of the black store owner who provided goods and services to his own people, even if those goods were sometimes more expensive due to discriminatory supply chains. Fraternal organizations, women's clubs, and mutual aid societies flourished. These groups provided a safety net, offering financial assistance in times of need, organizing educational initiatives, and advocating for civil rights. Your parents might be members of such a group, attending meetings in the evenings, their voices low as they discuss ways to uplift the community, to provide support for those who were suffering. You might see them contribute a few coins, a sacrifice from their meager earnings, knowing it was an investment in the collective well-being. Education was another powerful act of resistance. Despite underfunded schools, black parents emphasized learning, often sacrificing greatly to ensure their children received an education. Teachers, often paid less than their white counterparts and working with limited resources, dedicated themselves to their students, instilling a love of learning and a sense of racial pride. You feel this dedication from your teacher, her patient explanations, her encouragement, her unwavering belief in your potential. Even if the books are old, the lessons are new, opening up pathways in your mind, sparking dreams of a future different from your parents'. The Great Migration, though driven by economic desperation and racial violence in the South, was itself an act of collective resistance, a mass exodus seeking opportunity and dignity. Your family might be recent arrivals in a northern city, having made the difficult journey from the rural South. You hear stories of the journey, the crowded trains, the anxiety of leaving everything familiar behind, the hope for a new beginning. While the North presented its own forms of discrimination, it also offered a different kind of freedom, a chance to escape the direct, suffocating oppression of Jim Crow and the sharecropping system. In the cultural realm, the 1920s witnessed the explosion of the Harlem Renaissance, a period of unprecedented artistic and intellectual creativity within the black community. Though you might be too young to fully grasp its significance, its echoes reverberate even in your quiet neighborhood. The music of jazz and blues, born from the pain and joy of black experience, fills the air from distant radios or phonographs. You hear the soulful wail of a saxophone, the rhythmic thump of a bass, the powerful, expressive voices of singers like Bessie Smith or Louis Armstrong. This music is more than entertainment. It is a profound expression of Black identity, a testament to resilience, a message of hope and defiance. It speaks of sorrow, but also of joy, of longing, and of an unbreakable spirit. You might see beautifully dressed Black men and women returning from an evening out, their laughter echoing softly down the street. They carry themselves with an air of sophisticated confidence, an embodiment of the new Negro. Proud, self-aware, and asserting their cultural prowess in a world that sought to deny it. While these figures might seem distant from your everyday life, they represent a beacon, a possibility of a different kind of Black existence, one that celebrates intellect, artistry, and self-expression. Your parents, in their own quiet way, embody this resilience. They might attend a community meeting where plans are discussed to challenge a discriminatory practice or to raise funds for a new community center. They vote, if they are able, recognizing the power of the ballot, however limited, as a tool for change. They instill in you a sense of pride in your heritage, teaching you to walk tall, to treat others with respect, and to never forget who you are. The brutality of the 1920s was undeniable, a systemic assault on Black families from every angle. Yet, within this crucible of oppression, Black families forged unbreakable bonds, created vibrant cultures, and sustained a profound sense of hope and defiance. Their everyday lives were a testament to their strength, their love, and their unwavering belief in a better future for their children. As the sun sets outside your window, painting the sky with deep blues and purples, you snuggle deeper into your bed. The quiet hum of the night settles around you. You hear the faint sound of your parents' voices from the next room, a gentle murmur of love and planning. The echoes of the day's realities fade into the background, replaced by the comforting presence of family. You are safe, for now, within the walls of your home, held by the strength of generations. The struggles are real, the injustices profound, but so too is the love, the resilience, the unwavering hope that guides your family through each day. And with that thought, you drift into a deep, peaceful sleep. As you sleep, the memories of the day gently settle, but the unspoken truths of your world continue to ripple beneath the surface of your dreams. You are still that young child in 1920s America, learning the intricate dance of survival and dignity. When you awaken with the morning light, a new day begins, but the challenges remain, always present, always demanding attention. The brutality of this era for Black families was often hidden in plain sight, woven into the very fabric of daily routines. It wasn't always the dramatic, overt violence you heard whispered about, but the constant, chipping away at dignity, the subtle denial of opportunity, the systemic roadblocks that made even simple progress feel like an uphill battle. Let us consider the health disparities that shadowed Black communities. The neighborhoods you live in, whether in the crowded urban centers of the North or the neglected rural pockets of the South, often lack basic sanitation. You breathe air that might be heavy with industrial fumes if you are near factories, or thick with dust and the scent of decay if waste collection is infrequent. Clean drinking water, something many take for granted, might be a constant concern. You rely on communal pumps or water that is delivered irregularly, and you learn early the importance of boiling water, of being careful. Diseases like tuberculosis, influenza, and pellagra, fueled by malnutrition and poor living conditions, sweep through your community with devastating speed. You see the tired, often sickly faces of neighbors, the vacant stare in the eyes of children who are not thriving. When someone falls ill, the options for care are severely limited. Hospitals are segregated, and the colored wards are often understaffed, under-equipped, and overwhelmed. Black doctors and nurses, though dedicated and skilled, operate with scarce resources, often serving entire communities with little support. You might remember a time when a younger sibling coughed endlessly, their breath shallow, their tiny body racked with fever. Your mother, her face etched with worry, tries every home remedy she knows, brewing herbal teas, placing cool cloths on their forehead. The fear in her eyes is palpable, a silent plea against forces beyond her control. Access to a doctor is a luxury, a last resort, often requiring a long journey and a fee that your family can ill afford. The constant threat of illness, the knowledge that a simple cold can escalate into something life-threatening, adds another layer of anxiety to daily life. Beyond physical health, there is the silent toll on mental and emotional well-being. The relentless stress of navigating a hostile world, of constant vigilance, of suppressing anger and frustration, wears heavily on the adults around you. You see it in the quiet moments, in the way your father sometimes stares blankly into space after a long day, or the way your mother's shoulders slump when she thinks no one is looking. The joy, though present, is often hard-won, a conscious act of defiance against the weight of oppression. Children, too, carry this burden. You learn to read unspoken cues, to intuit danger before it arrives. You understand, perhaps before you have the words for it, that your world is not fair, that you are treated differently, less than. This early understanding of injustice can breed a sense of helplessness, or conversely, a fierce, quiet determination. You might notice the way other black children play, their games sometimes mirroring the power dynamics of the adult world, their innocent play acting out small acts of rebellion or mimicry. The struggle for educational equality is another deeply painful aspect of this era. While your community values education immensely, the reality of segregated schools is stark. Your school building might be older, more dilapidated than the white school across town. The windows might be cracked, the roof might leak, and the heating in winter might be inadequate. Your textbooks are hand-me-downs, often outdated and missing pages, or filled with caricatures and derogatory depictions of black people. There might be no library, no science lab, no art supplies beyond the most basic. Your teachers, however, are beacons of hope. They are often highly educated black men and women, barred from teaching in white schools, who choose to dedicate their lives to educating their own. They teach with passion and ingenuity, making do with what little they have. They might spend their own meager salaries on supplies, or improvise lessons with whatever materials they can find. They teach you not only reading, writing, and arithmetic, but also self-respect, resilience, and the importance of racial uplift. You feel their unwavering belief in you, a belief that counters the pervasive message of inferiority that society tries to impress upon you. You learn to value every scrap of knowledge, every story, every lesson. You understand that your education is not just for yourself, but for your family, for your community, a weapon against ignorance, a key to unlock doors that are currently closed. But the contrast is always there. You know that white children receive a superior education, better prepared for a world that offers them more opportunities. This knowledge is a quiet ache, a recognition of the unfair advantage, but also a motivator to work harder, to prove yourself against impossible odds. Consider the pervasive system of debt peonage and forced labor that continued to trap many black families, particularly in the South. If your family is still on the land, working as sharecroppers, the illusion of freedom is thin. You see the constant vigilance required to navigate the landowner's demands, the endless calculations in your parents' minds, trying to make the numbers add up at the end of the harvest, but they never do. The furnish system provides your family with basic necessities, seeds, tools, meager food supplies, but at inflated prices, and the cost is deducted from your eventual share of the crop. When settlement day comes, the landowner's ledger always shows a debt, a balance that means you cannot leave, that you must continue to work another year and another. This economic entrapment is a direct legacy of slavery, designed to keep black labor cheap and accessible. You witness the subtle forms of coercion, the threat of eviction, the denial of credit, the unspoken understanding that any challenge to the landowner's authority could lead to violence or even death. The children in your family, as young as you are expected to contribute to the labor, their small hands tending to plants, their bodies bent under the harsh sun. There is no childhood innocence of play in the fields, only the relentless rhythm of work, the aching muscles, the endless days. This is not play, this is survival. Even in cities, the economic brutality takes on different forms. Black workers are often the last hired, first fired. They are relegated to the most undesirable, dangerous jobs. Janitors, porters, domestic servants, factory laborers in the most hazardous sections. These jobs offer little pay, no benefits, and no security. Your father might come home with stories of workplace accidents, of injuries that go untreated, of a co-worker dismissed for a minor infraction with no recourse. Your mother, working as a domestic, faces daily indignities, long hours, low wages, and the constant demand for deference from her white employers. She might be asked to use a separate entrance, to eat her lunch in the kitchen, or to endure condescending remarks. The struggle for basic political rights is another front in this unseen war. While the 15th Amendment theoretically guaranteed black men the right to vote, the reality in the South, and in many parts of the North, was a systematic disenfranchisement. Poll taxes, literacy tests, grandfather clauses, and outright intimidation at the ballot box prevent black citizens from exercising their right. Your parents might talk about this in hushed tones, the frustration evident in their voices. They know that without the right to vote, their voices are silenced, their concerns unheard by those in power. You might see your father dress in his best clothes on election day, determined to go to the polls, only to return hours later, his shoulders slumped, his face reflecting a deep disappointment. He might tell your mother about the white men standing outside the polling place, their eyes cold, their presence a silent threat. Or perhaps he was asked to recite passages from the Constitution, or to explain complex legal terms, a test designed to fail him, no matter his intelligence. This denial of fundamental citizenship is a profound act of brutality, denying black people agency over their own lives and communities. The brutal reality also extended to social and cultural erasure. Black achievements, black history, and black contributions were systematically omitted from textbooks, public narratives, and mainstream media. You are taught in school, if at all, a version of history that diminishes or ignores the profound impact of black people on America and the world. This erasure is a form of violence, seeking to strip away identity, to deny a people their rightful place in the human story. However, within your home and community, there is a powerful counter-narrative. Your grandmother tells you stories of strength, of survival, of great kings and queens from Africa, of ingenious ways your ancestors resisted slavery. Your church teaches you about Moses leading his people to freedom, connecting your present struggles to ancient stories of liberation. These are the threads of your true history, carefully preserved and passed down through oral tradition, through spirituals, through the very act of living and thriving against all odds. These stories are your heritage, a source of profound pride and resilience, a shield against the pervasive messages of inferiority. The daily performance of deference and submission in public spaces is a constant psychological burden. You learn, often by observation, how to carry yourself in the presence of white people. You learn to avoid eye contact, to speak softly, to use honorifics like Mr. or Mrs., even to those much younger than your parents. This forced humility is a survival mechanism, a way to navigate dangerous interactions, but it comes at a cost to one's spirit. You see your parents swallow insults, bite back sharp retorts, and smile when they wish to frown. This controlled emotional response is a skill learned from generations of oppression, a way to diffuse potentially violent situations. But the internal cost of this suppression is immense. It builds a quiet rage, a deep well of frustration that can only be expressed in the safety of your home, among your own people. You, as a child, begin to absorb these lessons, learning to temper your natural impulses, to understand the perilous boundaries of your world. Consider also the phenomenon of racial terror bombings and targeted violence against black homes and businesses, particularly if your family is attempting to move into a previously all-white neighborhood, or if your father is trying to establish a successful business that might compete with white enterprises. While less widespread than lynchings, these acts of terror aim to maintain segregation and suppress black economic progress. You might hear stories of dynamite being thrown, of fires being set, a chilling reminder that even the sanctity of one's home is not always guaranteed. The very concept of home ownership for black families was fraught with peril. Even if a family managed to save enough to buy a house, they often faced discriminatory lending practices, inflated prices, and the constant threat of violence or intimidation if they tried to move outside of designated colored areas. The dream of home ownership, a cornerstone of the American dream, was often a mirage for black families, or a struggle fraught with unique dangers. Yet within this overwhelming landscape of brutality, the acts of resilience and self-determination shone even brighter. Every small victory, every quiet act of defiance became a testament to an indomitable spirit. The act of dressing well, even with limited means, was a powerful statement. Your mother might carefully mend your clothes, ensuring they are clean and pressed, even if they are worn. Your father might polish his shoes, his hat carefully brushed. This attention to appearance, despite the lack of resources, was a way of asserting dignity, of refuting the stereotypes of slovenliness that racist society tried to impose. It was a visual declaration. We are respectable. We are worthy. The creation of vibrant social spaces within the community provided crucial relief and affirmation. Juke joints, dance halls, social clubs, even simple gatherings on a front porch. These were places where black people could shed the masks of deference, where they could laugh loudly, dance freely, express themselves fully without fear of white scrutiny. You might hear the distant sounds of music and laughter from a nearby gathering, a comforting echo of joy in the night. These spaces were vital for emotional release, for connection, for the renewal of spirit. The cultivation of religious faith was a cornerstone of resilience. The black church, with its powerful sermons, its soul-stirring music, and its unwavering message of hope and ultimate justice, provided a spiritual refuge. It offered a framework for understanding suffering, a promise of deliverance, and a profound sense of community. You hear the passionate singing, the fervent prayers, the rhythmic clapping, all expressions of a faith that sustained your people through unimaginable trials. This faith was not passive. It was an active force, inspiring resistance and providing the moral compass for the struggle for freedom. The strength of the black family unit itself was a profound act of resistance. Despite economic pressures that often tore families apart and social forces that sought to undermine them, black families clung together, providing mutual support, love, and protection. The extended family, often including grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins, formed a powerful network of care. You are raised not just by your parents, but by a collective of loving adults, each contributing to your upbringing, sharing the burdens and the joys. This deep sense of kinship and collective responsibility was a vital buffer against the harshness of the outside world. Stories, songs, and oral traditions were meticulously preserved and passed down. These narratives, often rooted in African heritage or the experiences of slavery, provided a sense of continuity, a connection to a past that affirmed black strength and survival. You sit at the feet of your elders, listening to their tales, absorbing the wisdom of generations. These stories are a quiet form of education, teaching you about who you are, where you come from, and the enduring spirit of your people. Even the simple act of laughter and humor was a form of resilience. Amidst the hardship, black communities found moments of joy, of levity, of shared amusement. Jokes, witty observations, and playful banter served as an outlet, a way to diffuse tension, to find light in the darkness. You hear the deep, resonant laughter of your father after a long day, or the melodic giggles of your mother and her friends as they share stories. This capacity for joy, even in the face of suffering, is a testament to an unbreakable spirit. The quiet acts of self-improvement and ambition were widespread. Despite limited access to education, many black individuals pursued learning through night schools, self-study, and community initiatives. They strove to master skills, to develop professions, to build businesses, often against incredible odds. Your parents might talk about someone in the community who saved every penny to buy a plot of land, or another who started a small repair shop out of their home. These individual efforts, though often met with resistance, collectively built the foundation for future progress. As the day dims and the stars begin to prick through the twilight sky, you lie in your bed thinking of the world around you. You are small, but you are a part of something vast and enduring. You are a link in a long chain of resilience, a product of profound love and determination. The brutality of the era is a heavy blanket, but beneath it, there is a warmth generated by community, by family, by an unyielding spirit. You feel the gentle rhythm of your own breathing, the soft cadence of your parents' quiet voices, the comforting knowledge that you are safe for the night. And as you drift further into sleep, you carry with you the quiet power of your heritage, the strength of your people, and the enduring hope for a brighter dawn. The morning arrives with a soft, persistent light, filtering through the thin curtains of your bedroom. You are still that young child, breathing in the familiar sense of your home, hearing the gentle stirrings of your family as they prepare for another day. The rhythm of life continues, a quiet assertion against the relentless pressures of the outside world. As you slowly awaken, let us explore another layer of the brutality that black families faced in 1920s America, the insidious nature of psychological warfare, and the constant demand for racial etiquette. This wasn't always a physical blow, but a continuous assault on one's self-worth and spirit. You learn from a very young age to read the subtle cues, to understand the unwritten rules that govern interactions between black and white people. You are taught, not explicitly in harsh words, but through countless observations and hushed warnings, how to navigate these interactions. You learn to walk on the other side of the street if you see a white person approaching, to give wide berth. You learn to keep your voice low, almost deferential, when speaking to a white shopkeeper or a white person who is giving orders to your parents. Your parents might tell you, "Don't look them directly in the eye, child. Just do what they say and come on home." These instructions are not about cowardice. They are about survival, about avoiding confrontation that could escalate into violence or worse. You internalize the concept of the white gaze, the feeling of being constantly observed, judged, and categorized based on the color of your skin. This gaze carries with it assumptions of inferiority, a presumption of your place at the bottom of the social hierarchy. It is exhausting, this constant performance of humility, this careful calibration of your demeanor to avoid offense. You see it in your mother's weary smile when she returns from working in a white home, or the way your father's shoulders subtly tense when a white supervisor passes by. This psychological burden extends to the pervasive use of racial slurs and derogatory language. You hear these words whispered, hissed, or even shouted at your parents, at your neighbors, at you. They are designed to dehumanize, to diminish, to remind you of your perceived lesser status. While you may not fully grasp the historical weight of these words, you understand their intent. They sting, they wound, and they mark you as different, as less. Your parents try to shield you, to tell you sticks and stones, but the words leave invisible bruises on the spirit. You learn to grit your teeth, to look away, to let the words pass over you, a painful lesson in endurance. The media of the era also contributed significantly to this psychological warfare. Newspapers, films, and popular culture frequently depicted black people in stereotypical and demeaning ways, as lazy, ignorant, shiftless, or as dangerous caricatures. Minstrel shows, though evolving, still held sway, perpetuating grotesque and humiliating portrayals. While your family might not have access to movies or many mainstream newspapers, the pervasive nature of these images still seeped into the public consciousness, shaping attitudes and reinforcing prejudice. You might occasionally see a newspaper with a cartoon depicting black people with exaggerated features, or hear white people repeat harmful jokes. These cultural representations serve to justify the system of oppression, to make it seem natural and acceptable to discriminate against black people. They create a climate where dehumanization is normalized, making it easier for violence and injustice to occur without widespread public outrage. Another aspect of this brutality was the limited access to justice and legal protection. If a crime was committed against a black person, especially by a white person, the chances of securing justice were incredibly slim. Law enforcement often sided with white aggressors, refusing to investigate or prosecute. The justice system was a tool of racial control, not a dispenser of equal rights. If your family ever faced a legal issue, perhaps a dispute with a white neighbor or an unfair accusation, you would quickly realize the stacked deck. Lawyers for black clients were scarce and often under immense pressure. Juries were almost always all white, and their verdicts rarely favored black individuals. This meant that the black community had to rely on its own internal systems of justice, its own moral codes, and its own collective action to find some semblance of fairness, often outside the official legal channels. The lack of legal recourse meant that many injustices went unaddressed, fostering a deep sense of vulnerability and powerlessness. Consider the deliberate underinvestment in black communities by local and state governments. This was a brutal reality that affected every aspect of your daily life. Your streets are unpaved, turning into muddy quagmires after rain and dusty trails in dry weather. Public services like sanitation, street lighting, and clean water are sparse or non-existent. Your schools are underfunded, your parks neglected, your health clinics woefully inadequate. You see the difference when you venture into white neighborhoods. The paved roads, the brightly lit streets, the well-maintained public spaces. This disparity is a visible manifestation of systemic neglect, a clear message that your community is deemed less worthy, less deserving of basic amenities. It makes daily life harder, more inconvenient, and more prone to health risks. This lack of investment is a quiet form of violence, denying your community the resources necessary to thrive and prosper. The subtle, yet pervasive nature of employment discrimination was a daily struggle. Even if your parents had skills or education, they were often relegated to menial jobs or entirely excluded from certain industries. Professional opportunities were largely closed off. Black teachers could only teach black students. Black doctors served predominantly black patients, often with little access to the better-equipped hospitals. This limited economic mobility, trapping generations in cycles of poverty, regardless of their talent or effort. Your father might have a dream of opening his own business, or your mother might aspire to a different kind of work. But the avenues for these dreams are severely restricted by a system designed to keep black people in their place at the bottom of the economic ladder. The sheer effort required to simply survive leaves little room for building wealth or achieving upward mobility. Every dollar earned is a hard-fought victory, every opportunity a rare stroke of luck. Yet, within this landscape of systemic brutality, there was an extraordinary and powerful resilience born from collective action and cultural affirmation. The black press played an indispensable role in countering the psychological warfare and providing a voice for the community. Newspapers like the Chicago Defender, the Pittsburgh Courier, and countless local black newspapers defied the mainstream narrative. These papers reported on lynchings and racial violence, celebrated black achievements, exposed discrimination, and provided a platform for black voices and perspectives. Your parents might eagerly await the arrival of the weekly black newspaper, its pages read and reread, passed from hand to hand throughout the neighborhood. It is a vital source of information, a connection to a wider black world, a validation of your experiences. It tells stories of black heroes, of communities fighting back, of a future where justice might prevail. This independent journalism is a powerful tool for self-definition and mobilization, a lifeline in a sea of racist propaganda. The music of the era, particularly jazz and blues, was a profound expression of both the pain and the joy of black life, and a powerful act of cultural affirmation. Born from the struggles of the post-slavery South and nurtured in the vibrant urban centers of the Great Migration, this music speaks directly to the soul. You hear the mournful cries of the blues, a testament to hardship, to heartbreak, to the weight of racial oppression. But you also hear the soaring improvisation of jazz, a joyous explosion of creativity, a defiant assertion of freedom and individuality. The rhythms move through you, deep in your bones. This music is not just entertainment. It is catharsis, communication, a form of spiritual and emotional liberation. It is a way of telling your story, of finding beauty in suffering, of transforming pain into art. It connects you to a shared experience, a collective heartbeat that transcends geographical boundaries. Black churches continue to be the vibrant centers of community and resistance. Beyond spiritual solace, they served as critical organizational hubs. Meetings about civil rights, voter registration drives, even against impossible odds, mutual aid programs and educational initiatives were all planned within their walls. The church choir, with its powerful voices raised in song, became a symbol of unity and hope. Your church, though humble, feels like a fortress against the outside world. It is a place where you are seen, valued, and affirmed. The sermons speak not only of heavenly redemption, but also of earthly justice. The sense of belonging, the collective strength found in shared faith and purpose, provides a spiritual armor against the daily degradations. It is a place where strategies for collective advancement are debated, where leaders emerge, and where the spirit of resistance is nurtured. The cultivation of black intellectualism and artistic expression was another crucial form of resistance. The Harlem Renaissance, burgeoning in New York, was a powerful cultural movement that celebrated black identity and creativity. Writers like Langston Hughes, Zora Neale Hurston, and Claude McKay produced groundbreaking literature that challenged racial stereotypes and explored the complexities of black life. Artists, musicians, and thinkers created a vibrant cultural landscape that asserted the richness and diversity of black experience. While you may not be directly immersed in the salons of Harlem, the spirit of this movement reaches you through the music on the radio, through the stories your parents might share, or through the sheer pride evident in your community. These cultural achievements provide a powerful counter-narrative to the dehumanizing images of the mainstream, affirming the intelligence, talent, and beauty of black people. They are a source of immense racial pride, inspiring new generations to pursue their own creative and intellectual aspirations. The everyday acts of defiance were numerous, though often subtle. A store clerk might intentionally give you the wrong change, but your mother quietly, persistently, and politely corrects them until she receives what is due. Your father might refuse to kowtow to a white man's unreasonable demand, choosing instead a different, harder path. These are not grand gestures, but small, daily assertions of dignity and worth, demonstrating an unbroken spirit. Sometimes, resistance manifested in collective boycotts of white businesses that practice discrimination, or in quiet organizing to support black-owned establishments. These actions, though often risky, demonstrated the collective power of the community when it chose to unite and withdraw its labor or its purchasing power. Every time your family chose to buy from a black-owned store, even if it was slightly less convenient or more expensive, it was a quiet act of economic empowerment, a vote for self-sufficiency. As you lie in your bed, the sounds of the night filtering through your window, you feel the quiet strength of your family, the bedrock of your existence. You understand, in a way that transcends words, that the brutality of the world outside is real, that it touches every aspect of your lives. But you also know that your people are strong, resourceful, and deeply resilient. The love in your home, the stories of your elders, the music that stirs your soul, the shared purpose of your community. These are the powerful forces that counterbalance the hardship. They are the sources of your enduring hope, guiding you through the darkness and affirming your place in a world that seeks to deny it. With these thoughts, you feel the gentle tug of sleep, drawing you deeper into rest. The struggles of the day fade, replaced by a profound sense of peace and the quiet hum of your own inner strength. You are a part of a legacy of perseverance, and as you sleep, that legacy continues to unfold within you. The morning arrives, not with a jarring alarm, but with the subtle shift of light outside your window, painting the room in soft, diffused hues. You are still a child in the 1920s, a quiet observer of your family's unwavering strength. The scent of coffee and perhaps a faint aroma of wood smoke drift into your room, signaling the gentle awakening of your household. Today, let us gently delve deeper into the specific ways the brutal realities of this era manifested in the physical environment and the daily practicalities of black family life. It was a struggle not just for dignity, but for basic comfort and safety, deeply rooted in systemic discrimination. You step out of your shared bed, your bare feet meeting the cool floorboards, and you notice the small imperfections of your home. Perhaps the paint peels in places, or the windows might be a bit drafty. The house, though a haven, often reflects the economic realities of your family. If you live in a city, your home might be part of a crowded tenement, one apartment among many in a building that has seen better days. The walls might be thin, allowing the muffled sounds of neighbors' lives to filter through, the distant cry of a baby, the low hum of conversation, the faint scent of another family's cooking. Privacy is a luxury, and life unfolds in close quarters. Access to basic utilities is often precarious. Hot water might be a rarity, requiring boiling water on the stove for bathing or laundry. Indoor plumbing, if present at all, might be shared among multiple families on a floor, leading to queues and inconveniences. Electricity, while becoming common in white neighborhoods, might still be a distant dream for your community, leaving your home lit by gas lamps or kerosene, casting flickering shadows that dance across the walls in the evenings. The extra effort required for these basic necessities adds hours to your mother's day, her hands constantly busy, working to keep the household functioning. If you live in a rural area, particularly in the South, your home might be a simple wooden shack on a landowner's property. The walls might be rough-hewn, the floorboards uneven. Water is fetched from a well or a communal pump, often a long walk away, and heated over an open fire. Outhouses serve as latrines, often shared and unsanitary. These conditions, a direct result of economic exploitation and lack of investment, contribute to health issues and a relentless cycle of physical labor, just to maintain a minimal standard of living. You understand, even as a child, that the effort to simply exist is monumental. The food on your table, while nourishing, is often a testament to ingenuity and frugality. Your family might rely heavily on staples like cornmeal, rice, beans, and whatever vegetables can be grown in a small plot of land, if you have access to one. Meat is a luxury, often salt pork or chicken if a few chickens can be raised. Your mother is a master of making a little go a long way, transforming simple ingredients into comforting, flavorful meals that stretch to feed many hungry mouths. You eat every scrap, learning early not to waste. The scent of greens simmering for hours, the rich aroma of fresh-baked cornbread. These are the smells of survival, imbued with love and resourcefulness. Shopping for food often involves navigating stores where black customers are treated with disdain or forced to wait while white customers are served first. In some areas, black families are only allowed to shop at specific stores, often with higher prices and lower quality goods. This adds a layer of indignity to the simple act of feeding your family, a constant reminder of your unequal status. Transportation is another daily challenge. If your family relies on public transport like buses or streetcars, you are constantly reminded of segregation. You must sit in the back, or stand even when seats are available in the white section. You witness your parents navigate these rules, their faces carefully neutral, their bodies moving with an almost imperceptible tension. This constant negotiation of segregated spaces is physically and emotionally draining, turning a simple journey into a performative act of compliance. Walking is often the primary mode of transportation. Your feet become accustomed to dusty roads, uneven sidewalks, or long stretches of unpaved paths. Distances that seem short to others might be long journeys for your family, especially when carrying heavy loads of groceries or laundry. You learn the geography of your neighborhood intimately, the safe routes, the places to avoid, the shortcuts through alleys and fields. The very landscape around you is shaped by racial discrimination. Parks, swimming pools, libraries, and other public amenities are either segregated or entirely unavailable to black communities. The idea of a public park might mean a neglected patch of grass with no swings or benches, while white children enjoy manicured lawns and state-of-the-art playgrounds. This exclusion from public spaces reinforces the message that your presence is unwanted, that even leisure and recreation are denied to you based on your race. You learn to find joy in alternative spaces, playing in the street with other children, gathering on a neighbor's porch, or making your own games in backyards. These informal spaces become vibrant hubs of activity, fostering creativity and community bonds in the face of deprivation. The profound impact of environmental racism is also a silent contributor to the brutality of the era. Black neighborhoods are often located near hazardous industrial sites, dumping grounds, or areas prone to flooding. The air you breathe might carry the particulates from a nearby factory or the stench of waste. The ground you walk on might be contaminated. This disproportionate exposure to environmental hazards contributes to the higher rates of illness and shorter life expectancies in black communities. Though the term environmental racism wasn't coined then, its effects were acutely felt in the daily lives of black families. Even something as seemingly simple as getting a good night's rest is impacted by these brutal conditions. The heat in summer, with no air conditioning, can be stifling in crowded tenements. The cold in winter, with inadequate heating, can be biting. Noise from busy streets or from close neighbors can make sleep difficult. The constant worry about making ends meet, about staying safe, about the health of loved ones can keep parents awake at night, their minds racing, planning, strategizing for survival. You sense this restlessness in your parents, even when they try to mask it. The quiet tossing and turning in the next room, the early morning sighs. Yet, within this challenging physical environment, black families demonstrated an extraordinary capacity for resourcefulness, creativity, and the cultivation of beauty. Your mother, with her skilled hands and creative spirit, transforms humble materials into beautiful objects. She might piece together scraps of fabric into vibrant quilts that not only provide warmth, but tell stories with their patterns. She might repurpose old jars into decorative vases for wildflowers gathered from a field. The interior of your home, though small and simple, is often kept meticulously clean, a testament to dignity and pride. Small touches of beauty, a carefully embroidered doily, a potted plant on the windowsill, bring warmth and comfort to the space. Gardens, however small, are meticulously tended. If your family has a small patch of earth, it becomes a source of fresh food and a place of solace. Your hands, though small, learn to feel the soil, to plant seeds, to nurture life. The satisfaction of harvesting your own beans or greens, knowing they will feed your family, is a profound and tangible act of self-sufficiency. The shared spaces of the community, though often neglected by the city, are made vibrant by the people who inhabit them. Front porches become gathering spots for storytelling, for card games, for watching the world go by. Shared courtyards become playgrounds for children and places for neighbors to exchange news and offer support. The sounds of children playing, of laughter, of music emanating from open windows fill these spaces with life, transforming deprivation into community. Mutual aid networks are a practical and profound form of resilience. Neighbors help neighbors. If a family falls ill, others bring food, help with chores, or contribute small sums of money. If a child needs clothes, a slightly older child's outgrown garments are passed down. This informal economy of care and support creates a safety net, a collective response to systemic neglect. You witness these acts of kindness, these quiet gestures of solidarity, and you learn the deep value of community, of looking out for one another. The act of making music at home, whether singing hymns, blues, or jazz tunes, transforms your small living space into a concert hall. A scratchy phonograph might play the latest records, filling the air with the sounds of Bessie Smith or Jelly Roll Morton. or your father might pull out a worn guitar and strum familiar chords. These moments of musical expression are moments of profound freedom, of emotional release, of shared cultural identity. They uplift the spirit, transport you beyond the confines of your reality, and connect you to the wider tapestry of Black artistry. Your family's adherence to religious practices provides not only spiritual guidance, but also a practical framework for daily life. The rituals of prayer, the weekly church service, the quiet moments of reflection, these provide comfort, strength, and a sense of purpose. The church, as a building, might be humble, but within its walls a powerful sense of community and moral fortitude is forged. It teaches lessons of patience, perseverance, and ultimately, justice. The cultivation of personal cleanliness and dignified appearance, even with limited resources, is a powerful statement. Despite having to heat water on the stove and use lye soap, your mother ensures your clothes are clean, your hair is neat. This meticulous care, often hidden from the white world, is an assertion of self-respect, a quiet refusal to be defined by the squalor that racism tries to impose. It is a way of holding on to dignity, of maintaining a sense of pride in oneself and one's family, regardless of external circumstances. As the day begins to wane and the light outside softens, you settle into the routines of evening. The scent of dinner cooking fills the air, a comforting aroma that signifies the end of another day's labor and the gathering of your family. You hear the clatter of pots and pans, the low murmur of your parents' conversation, a symphony of domesticity that is both ordinary and profoundly resilient. You understand, with the innate wisdom of childhood, that your family lives in a world that is not fair, a world that demands more from them simply because of their skin color. But you also feel, deep in your bones, the immense strength that radiates from your parents, from your grandparents, from every member of your community. It is a strength born of hardship, yes, but also of an enduring love, an unbreakable spirit, and a profound commitment to one another. As you drift off to sleep, the images of the day soften, blurring into the gentle rhythm of your breath. You are safe within the embrace of your home, surrounded by the quiet power of a people who, despite everything, continue to live, to love, to create, and to dream of a better tomorrow. The journey through the struggles of the 1920s whispers to you now, not of fear, but of an unyielding spirit that endures beyond the challenges, carrying you into a peaceful slumber. The quiet hum of the early morning wraps around you, a familiar comfort as you stir from sleep. You are still that young child in 1920s America, nestled within the heart of your family, your senses attuned to the subtle symphony of their daily lives. The distant scent of dew on grass or the faint rumble of a faraway streetcar drifts through your open window. Let us now gently turn our attention to the specific ways the brutal realities of this era impacted the childhood itself for Black children, and how, even amidst hardship, moments of true joy and learning were carved out. Your childhood is not one of carefree innocence, as might be depicted in the mainstream world around you. From a very young age, you are aware of the burdens your parents carry, the unspoken rules that govern your lives. You learn responsibility early, often before your small hands feel quite ready for it. If you have younger siblings, you learn to look after them, to share your meager toys, to comfort them when they cry. This early fostering of responsibility creates a deep bond within the family, but it also means a childhood touched by the solemnity of adult concerns. Playtime, while precious, is often interwoven with chores and duties. You might play games while watching a younger sibling, or invent elaborate stories while shelling peas on the porch. Your imagination thrives on simplicity. A worn rag doll becomes a cherished friend. A stick becomes a horse. A patch of dirt transforms into an entire world for your pebbles and bottle caps. These moments of play are vital, small pockets of freedom where you can be truly a child. But they are often brief, squeezed between responsibilities. The concept of leisure and recreation, so widely advertised in the roaring 20s for white America, is largely inaccessible to you. Amusement parks are segregated, swimming pools are off limits, Movie theaters often have colored sections with restricted views or deny entry altogether. This denial of shared public spaces means that recreation must be created within your own community, often through ingenuity and collective effort. You might attend informal gatherings in neighbors' homes, where music plays and stories are told. Picnics in a nearby field, if one can be found, become cherished memories. Your community might organize local baseball games or talent shows, creating their own spaces for joy and entertainment. These self-created recreational opportunities are a powerful act of defiance against exclusion, a testament to the community's ability to generate its own happiness. The emotional landscape of childhood is complex. You witness your parents' quiet resilience, their moments of weary sadness, but also their bursts of laughter and fierce protectiveness. You learn to interpret their moods, to understand when to be quiet, when to offer a small, comforting touch. The concept of race is not an abstract idea, but a lived reality, a constant filter through which you experience the world. You learn what it means to be colored, not from textbooks, but from the everyday limitations, the subtle slights, the overt warnings. There are moments of profound frustration, questions that bubble up inside you that you dare not ask aloud. Why can't I go there? Why do they look at us like that? Why isn't it fair? These unanswered questions create a quiet tension within your young mind, shaping your understanding of justice and injustice. Yet simultaneously, you are enveloped in a deep, unconditional love from your family and community, a love that serves as a powerful antidote to the world's harshness. This love affirms your worth, nurtures your spirit, and teaches you that you are indeed seen, valued, and cherished. The brutal reality of limited opportunities for personal advancement casts a long shadow even over childhood dreams. As you grow, you begin to understand that the paths open to you are narrower, steeper, and more challenging than those open to white children. The dreams you might whisper to yourself at night of becoming a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, an artist, seem impossibly distant, fraught with systemic barriers. Your parents, while encouraging your education, are also pragmatic. They might subtly guide you towards professions that are more accessible, even if less glamorous. They teach you the importance of a strong work ethic, of excelling in whatever opportunity you find, because you will have to be twice as good to get half as far. This message is not meant to limit you, but to prepare you for the realities of the world you inhabit, instilling a profound sense of responsibility and determination. The constant need for resourcefulness and improvisation becomes a hallmark of your childhood. Clothes are passed down, toys are made from found objects, meals are stretched to feed many. You learn to mend, to fix, to create with what little is available. This ingenuity, born of necessity, fosters a deep understanding of value and resilience. You see the pride in your mother's eyes when she has stretched a few ingredients into a satisfying meal, or when your father repairs something thought broken. These are not just chores. They are lessons in survival and self-reliance. However, amidst these profound challenges, the joy and vitality of Black childhood were never extinguished. They were fiercely protected and celebrated within the confines of the community. The simple act of gathering together was a profound source of joy. Sundays after church, family visits, impromptu gatherings on porches, these were moments of profound connection. You remember the sound of laughter, the smell of good food, the comforting murmur of adult conversation as you played nearby. These were the times when the burdens of the outside world were temporarily shed, replaced by the warmth of kinship and shared experience. Storytelling and music are integral to your upbringing. Your grandparents and older relatives are living libraries, sharing tales of ancestors, of historical events, of folk heroes. These stories, often accompanied by the rhythmic sounds of spirituals or the soulful notes of the blues, connect you to a rich cultural heritage. They teach you lessons of perseverance, cunning, and faith, instilling a deep sense of pride in who you are and where you come from. You sit captivated, imagining these worlds, these figures, feeling the power of their enduring spirit. The Black Church is a central pillar of joy and community for children. Sundays are often long, but filled with vibrant singing, passionate sermons, and the camaraderie of other children your age. The Sunday school teachers, often young black women, devote themselves to your moral and intellectual upbringing, teaching you Bible stories, but also subtly instilling lessons of justice and equality. Church picnics, holiday celebrations, and youth events provide much-needed opportunities for wholesome recreation and social interaction in a safe, affirming environment. The sense of collective responsibility means that every adult in the community is, in a way, your parent. You are watched over, corrected, and encouraged by neighbors, by church elders, by shopkeepers. This collective rearing creates a strong safety net, a feeling that you are never truly alone, that there is always someone looking out for you. You learn to respect your elders, to listen to their wisdom, and to contribute to the well-being of the collective. The discovery of books and learning, even with limited resources, sparks profound joy. The worn pages of a school book, a borrowed newspaper, or a precious book from the church library become windows to other worlds. You learn to trace the letters, to sound out the words, and to lose yourself in stories that transport you beyond your immediate reality. The act of learning is an act of quiet rebellion, an assertion of your intellect and your right to knowledge. Even in the harsh reality of rural life, there is often a profound connection to the natural world. The rhythm of the seasons, the bounty of the earth, the beauty of a sunset over the fields. These provide moments of quiet contemplation and simple joy. You might learn the names of plants and animals, the songs of birds, the secrets of the forest edge. This connection to nature can be a source of solace and wonder, grounding you in a world that, despite its human injustices, still offers moments of natural beauty. As the day comes to a gentle close, and the last slivers of light fade from the sky, you prepare for bed. The echoes of the day's lessons, both hard and joyful, linger in your mind. You think of the strength in your mother's hands, the quiet determination in your father's eyes, the warmth of your grandmother's embrace. You are a small part of a mighty current, a testament to an enduring spirit. As you close your eyes, the sounds of the night soften around you. The distant chirping of crickets, the gentle rustle of leaves outside your window. You are wrapped in the love of your family, protected by the resilience of your community. The brutal realities of the world outside are still there, but within the sanctity of your home, you are safe, cherished, and filled with a quiet hope for a future that will, one day, be more just. And with that gentle thought, you drift into a deep and peaceful sleep. The last slivers of twilight fade into the deep, inky black of night, and the world outside your window grows quiet. You are that young child, lying in your bed in the 1920s, enveloped by the stillness that precedes a truly deep sleep. The air is calm, perhaps carrying the scent of night-blooming jasmine or the cool dampness of evening earth. As you drift now, let us reflect on the enduring spirit of hope and foresight that black families cultivated, even in the face of such profound brutality. This was not a naive hope, but a hard-won, deeply rooted belief in a future that, though distant, felt achievable through relentless effort and unwavering faith. Your parents and the adults around you carried the weight of the past, the generational trauma of slavery, the immediate injustices of Jim Crow and economic oppression. But they also held a profound vision for the future, particularly for their children. Every sacrifice they made, every indignity they endured, was often for your sake, to carve out a slightly better path for you than the one they walked. You feel this unspoken promise, this deep love that transcends circumstance. They instilled in you the vital importance of education, not just as a pathway to a job, but as a tool for liberation. Despite the dilapidated schools and outdated books, the message was clear. Knowledge is power. You are taught that with an education, you can open doors, challenge assumptions, and contribute to the uplift of your race. Your mind, they implicitly teach you is the one space that no one can truly segregate or oppress. And so, even when tired, you apply yourself to your lessons, understanding the weight of their silent hopes. The dream of owning land or a home, though often elusive, remained a powerful motivator. For many black families, particularly those who migrated north, saving every penny, sacrificing small pleasures, was geared towards this ultimate goal. A home, however humble, represented stability, a place of safety that couldn't be taken away by a capricious landlord or a hostile white mob. It was a tangible step towards true freedom, a piece of the American dream that had been systematically denied. You might hear your parents whisper late at night about the possibility, sketching out plans, their voices filled with a quiet determination. The practice of saving and self-sufficiency was not just a response to poverty, it was a deeply ingrained cultural value, born from necessity. Every scrap of food was used, every piece of clothing mended. Resources were pooled within families and communities. This collective frugality and resourcefulness were powerful acts of economic resistance, building a foundation from within when external systems offered little support. You learn these habits early, understanding that nothing is wasted, that every resource is precious. Black families also understood the profound importance of legacy and memory. They knew that if their history was not recorded and passed down, it would be forgotten or distorted. So they told stories of slavery, of survival, of resistance, of the courage of their ancestors. They taught you spirituals that contained coded messages of freedom. They nurtured a deep sense of racial pride, reminding you of the strength, creativity, and resilience of black people throughout history, directly countering the dehumanizing narratives prevalent in wider society. These stories, shared around the dinner table or on the porch, become woven into the fabric of your identity, connecting you to a powerful and unbroken lineage. The vision of a better future for their children was perhaps the most profound act of hope. Your parents might look at you, their child, and see possibilities they never had. They endure hardship with a quiet fortitude, believing that their struggles today pave the way for your successes tomorrow. This selfless devotion, this fierce protectiveness, is a constant, unwavering light in the darkness. You feel their hopes for you, a gentle weight of expectation, and a profound wellspring of love. Even in the most dire circumstances, there was an unwavering faith in justice, even if it was a justice that might only be fully realized in a future generation or in a spiritual realm. The Black Church, with its message of ultimate triumph over evil, provided a moral compass and a source of profound spiritual sustenance. This faith was not passive, it empowered action, inspired courage, and gave meaning to suffering. It taught that oppression was temporary, but the spirit was eternal. The 1920s were a time of intense struggle, a period where systemic brutality pressed down on black families from every conceivable angle. Yet, the enduring narrative is not just one of suffering, but of an unparalleled human spirit. It is the story of parents who shielded their children with love, of communities that built their own strength despite neglect, of a people who never stopped dreaming of freedom, dignity, and equality. You, as that child in the 1920s, are a testament to this resilience. You are a repository of these quiet lessons, these moments of shared joy, these profound acts of endurance. You carry within you the echoes of the struggles, but also the vibrant legacy of strength, creativity, and unwavering hope that defines Black history. As the quiet of the night deepens, you feel a profound sense of peace. The struggles of the past, though real, now gently recede into the backdrop of your thoughts. You are safe, warm, and loved. The gentle rhythm of your breathing calms your mind, and you are embraced by the soft, comforting blanket of history, knowing that the strength and love of those who came before you will forever guide your dreams. Now, as the world outside goes completely quiet, I invite you to close your eyes, breathe deeply, and rest, knowing that the past, however brutal, also holds profound lessons of resilience and enduring hope. Sleep well.